Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to welcome you to our webinar today that the Calvet team is hosting. My name is Gina, and I am a program coordinator for the Veteran Center at Skyline College. And for those that may not know, Skyline College is one of the 3 colleges in the San Mateo County Community College District in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we have the wonderful pleasure of working alongside the Calvet team for a while now and are really excited about the webinar that's being presented today. And I also have my colleague Kathleen Mink that's going to introduce herself as well, and we work very closely together at Skyline.
Thanks, Gina. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to welcome you all here. My name is Kathleen, and I work for the San Francisco VA healthcare system. And I work in a program called the Student Veteran Health Program and the Veteran Outreach Program. So I just wanted to say hi and to offer that if anyone has questions about VA healthcare, to please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my information in the chat, and it can be a little bit of a difficult system to navigate. So happy to help people understand that resource a little bit better and navigate it. And I wanted to turn it over to CalTAP, and thanks again for joining us today.
Jada, I think you need to unmute.
I am. I was on mute. Gosh, I haven't done that in a long time. Okay, well, thank you so much, Gina and Kathleen. I want to thank you guys for introducing me and then also having us come and join you today. And welcome everybody to this webinar. We're going to talk about some really great strategies for job search success. And we have some really great speakers today. And not only are they going to talk about how to reach that success, but they're going to talk about their own personal successes, and they're going to talk about their story of where they got to along the way from the veteran perspective. So we have some really great stuff today. First, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background on what the CalTAP team does, and then just some basic benefits that Calvet offers while you live here in California. And a couple just quick housekeeping things. If for any reason you were to get kicked off or you have to leave the webinar for any reason, just use that same link that you used to join the first time and just come and join us right back in. We are recording this webinar, so it will be posted on our website and on our YouTube channel in the next 2 to 3 weeks or so, so you'll be able to access this webinar. And it is being recorded, and by hitting that OK button, you allowed us to do that. We do have to say that, of course. So we'll go ahead and get going. Oh, and also I do want to mention, while all the speakers are talking, my coworker Michael will be posting things in the chat function, different links and different websites, that way you guys can access information. And if you guys have any questions along the way, utilize that Q&A tab, and we'll either be answering questions as we go, or we'll wait till the end and ask them aloud and have the point of contact that's able to answer those questions be able to answer them directly aloud. So okay, so we'll go ahead and get going here. Oh, well, that's what I was talking about, the housekeeping agenda. We talked about the virtual Q&A, where we did that part. So, okay, like I said, my name is Jana. I'm on the CalTAP team, and that stands for California Transition Assistance Program here at Calvet. And I am so excited to be here just to give you guys some more information. And if you guys have any questions on anything that I'm talking about, feel free to reach back to us anytime after this webinar. I'll be more than happy to go over details. But what is CalTAP? So our goal is to inform and connect veterans of all eras to their earned federal and state benefits. And the way we do that is by offering information through these 5 pathways that are listed. We have core curriculum, education, employment, entrepreneurship, and service providers. And all this information is right on our website. I'm going to show you guys where that is a little bit later. But all this information can be found pretty easily. We also ask that you guys keep in touch with us after this webinar. You can do that in a couple different ways. You can email us at caltap@calvet.ca.gov. Email us from a non-DoD email address. That way we can keep in touch with you just in case you're still in service. You can register for My Calvet. That's right on the homepage. You just go to calvet.com or calvet.ca.gov. Sorry about that. Or you can just Google Calvet, and you can click on the My Calvet. Once you register, you just click on Login, and the whole website is basically tailored to the information that you would be needing on a regular basis. You can also add Calvet services on all of our handles right there. You see the QR codes. You've got Facebook and Instagram, and that's our YouTube channel. That's where we're posting a lot of these webinars that we're recording. And then the Calvet website is in the top left-hand corner. You can attend the webinars that we're holding at the end of this. At the end of the webinar, we'll talk about webinars that are coming up in the future. And then we do ask that you fill out that survey. You can fill it out anytime. It will get emailed to you. There's the QR code. It'll pop up a couple different times throughout the webinar as well as in the chat. Here is our website. Like I said, you can just Google Calvet. Once you go to the Calvet website, you go to the CalTAP page, and this is the page that you see. You see the 5 pathways that I had mentioned earlier. You click on those and all the information pops right up for you. Or if you click on archive there, that's circled at the bottom, you'll get to any of the webinars that we're recording. Okay, so these are all the benefits that, that we offer, kind of a snapshot. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of detail about them. Calvet has a lot of great divisions within our department. We'd love to talk to you more about it. If you have any questions or want details on any of these, please reach out via email, or you can always call us. This is our Veterans Resource Book. I have one in person. This book is like gold, you guys. For one, on the back of it, there's a 1-800 number that has all of our information on it. We're going to be posting the PDF copy in the chat for you, so you have that. But also it lists all the benefits and all your resources that are located online as well. So it's a really great book to have. Like I said, it's like gold. This is a really great website to visit just in case you haven't been there, although I'm sure you have, va.gov. So many things you can click on here, so many things you can access. So really great website to go to if you haven't been there. And here is my contact information. Again, here are those QR codes for all of our social media handles and our website. My information is going to be on the last slide as well as all the other presenters. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Kevin. He's one of our local interagency network coordinators, and he is going to talk about what he does. So whenever you're ready, Kevin.
I am trying to get there now. Let's see. There we go. Are we there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you for that introduction. And hello, Kathleen and Gina. It's good to see you again. And Michael. So next slide, please. There is the map of the 8 link regions within the state of California. So there are 8 of us that cover the entire state. As you can see, we all have different, geographically, we have different sizes because there's a lot of population base involved. There's travel challenges for those people with larger areas, and then travel challenges for people that live in LA because it takes them as much to get to an appointment as it does somebody out in the valley. But nonetheless, there are 8 of us. My colleagues are all listed there with their email addresses. And if you are, most of you are going to be in my region, which is the Bay Area, the light green region. I have 10 counties that I'm responsible for. And but if you have friends, veterans, friends, people that need information, families, veteran families that may need information, you can contact anybody in the region as described, because they know more of their local resources than maybe I would know what's available in San Diego. So that's why we have the map there with all of my colleagues listed. Please feel free to reach out to any of us at any time with any questions about any benefits or resources or challenges that you may be having. Next slide, please. So this is what we do. We provide outreach to service members, veterans, and their families. We make referrals directly to service provider networks. As I said before, we know pretty much what's available within our specific regions, what nonprofits are available, who may have SSVF grants, who may have had VASH vouchers, who may have work programs going on. We assist with local emergencies. We will be wherever they need us with regards to, for instance, with the fires. We go to all the local assistance centers so we can help veterans replace whatever it is they're lost, from everything from a DD-214 to their medications, depending on how quick they had to leave. You'd be surprised how many hearing aids we need to replace also, depending on how quick they have to leave a location. And then we also provide leadership and advocacy within our regions, meaning that we create value for you, the veterans. We want to make sure that people know that there is a definite benefit to having veterans within their community, because we serve. That's what we've done, and that's what we continue to do. And so we advocate on your behalf. Can I get the next slide, please? We do this by partnering with other organizations. Obviously for our employment, we partner with the EDD and Americans Job Center. They have dedicated DevOps and leavers who work specifically with veterans developing resumes, developing a plan to get a job, as well as working with employers who want to hire veterans and developing that value of what it would mean to have a veteran working for them. With regards to our benefits, I can't express enough how much we rely on our county veteran service offices. In San Mateo County, we have a very, very, very capable office that can file claims on your behalf, that can help you with other challenges you may have within the veteran world. And I would highly recommend that be one of your first phone calls if you have not been in touch with them, or if you've not filed a claim, that you contact the San Mateo County Veteran Service Office, or there's one in every county. So depending on where you live and what your needs are, you can do that by just going to our website. I think we may show you that later on. Our website, and under Veteran Services, you will find a list of all the county veteran service offices. And then we partner with our big brother in the big VA, I call them, to work together with them in their medical centers, as well as work closely with some of the guys at the vet centers, making sure that they're getting the information they need, and making sure that we're coordinating with them and getting veterans to where they need their treatment and need their help. Can I get the next slide, please? The next slide is me. So there is my contact information. If anybody has any questions, I'm not going to be able to stay on the call to the very end. So if anybody has any questions of me right now, this would be a good time to ask them. If not, you can always email me at that email, or call me. That's my work cell phone. It's on a lot. I don't like to answer it after 6 o'clock at night, but it's on a lot. So I would invite anybody that's having any challenges or that may need some guidance or some direction to please feel free to call myself or any of my colleagues. And I thank you for your time.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. And like he said, feel free to reach out to him. I know maybe he won't be here till the end of the webinar, but he is always available and is always extremely responsive, of course. So his contact information will also be on the question and answer slide at the end of the webinar. So you'll definitely see it again. But let's go ahead and move on. Again, thanks so much, Kevin, for jumping on and giving that great info. I'm going to turn things over to my CalTAP coworker, Michael, and he is going to talk all about or give you guys a lot of employment information. So whenever you're ready, Michael.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Jana. Well, like she said, my name is Michael Cisneros. I am a training coordinator with CalTAP. I've been with CalTAP for about 2.5 years now. A little bit about me before we start. I'm also a veteran. I separated back in 2007. Went back to school right away. Got my bachelor's and my master's. While I was going through and getting my master's, I did a lot of study on the veteran community, particularly student veterans. So happy to be here today. Happy to talk to you about employment, especially state employment. I'm a state worker, so happy to tell you about my experiences and let you know, some tips on how to actually get employed with the state if that's what you're looking to do. So go ahead, next slide, Jenna. So this information, you can find it on our website. If you go to calvet.ca.gov and you click on that CalTAP banner on the homepage, you'll find our pathways page that looks like this. If you click on that employment pathway, next slide, you're taken to a modules page that looks like this. Here on the modules page, you can find information about searching for a job, techniques and best practices on doing that. You can find information about personal appraisal and personal marketing. So what are your skills and how do you actually sell that to the employer who's interviewing you? There's information about state employment and federal employment, which we'll talk a little bit about today. Interview techniques, and then also apprenticeship and on-the-job training if that's what you're looking to get into. Next slide. All right, so why do we talk about the employment landscape for veterans? And how can we help? Well, one of the things we want to get them familiar with some of the growing careers that are out there right now. This is just a quick snapshot of what we see are some of the top careers that are growing at the moment. As you can see, solar photovoltaic installers is pretty high. Especially here in California, we're trying to go green. Those solar panels that are installed everywhere around the state are getting a lot of attention right now, and they have a high market right now. So just kind of letting you know what's out there, what you can look at, and what might be the best route to go. Next slide. These are some tips, just a quick little list of things that you should do when you are preparing to apply for the state or for any position out there. The first thing you want to do is you want to create your resumes. So you want to create a target resume and a master resume, which I think we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But while you're doing that, you're going to also be matching terminology. And matching terminology means that you're taking the job statement or the duty statement, whatever it is that's letting you know that the position is open. You're grabbing keywords from that duty statement and you're plugging that into your target resume. So that's what it means to match terminology. Very important. Lots of employers are using a particular system that actually scans and filters resumes that don't have those keywords. So if you're not actually taking the time to do this part of the process, you might be looked over. So on top of that, you always want to keep a ready list of references. Make sure that your references know that they're going to be contacted or that they've been listed. Understand that a federal resume is going to be different. Federal resumes will be longer, and this is because it includes information about clearances or special on-the-job training things that you've accomplished throughout your time working. And then also you always want to find out if the company offers veteran preference points or veteran preference. This is just a way for the veteran to actually get an interview with the employer. Kind of puts them at the top tier depending on where they're applying. Next slide. So this is another slide that we kind of took some time to edit. It used to be called Be Realistic, but I think long-term is a little bit easier for a veteran to digest. And so, what we want you to just understand is that when you do exit the military, especially those that exit the military at a higher rank, you might need to make adjustments with your expectations. Coming out at a high rank, getting paid what you're getting paid, you might not find that in the civilian world. And if you do, then good for you, apply for it. But for those that are having trouble, it's probably because you might need to readjust your expectations a little bit. Also, you want to consider the competitiveness of your market and whether or not you should relocate somewhere within the state. One last thing to talk about is, don't get discouraged. One of the things that I like to tell veterans is that interviewing, resume writing, all of this is a skill that you develop. The more you do it, the more you succeed, the more you fail. All it does is just make you better at this process. So don't get discouraged, because eventually something will come up, something will fall in your lap if you're putting in the work for it. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about state employment. These next couple slides are going to be almost like a step-by-step process on how to actually navigate through the state website and set up a profile and apply. So if I am going too fast, please feel free to put in the questions and answers portion of the Zoom, that you need me to slow down. Or if you have any questions about what I talk about, please feel free to ask them. Next slide. All right, so why would you want to work for the state? Well, the state is the largest employer here in California. There's over 150 agencies and state departments. So if you think about, driving on the freeway, California Highway Patrol is there to, regulate the roads. You have Caltrans is there to prepare the roads. If you go out into, if you're going hiking, you got the wildlife and I'm sorry, parks and recreations that's there to keep the upkeep with the parks. So they're everywhere. The State Department is everywhere across the state. You can find openings in any county, multiple geographic locations. They also have great salary and benefit packages. We'll talk a little bit about that also. Vast career opportunities. Once you're in the state, you can move sideways, up, down, wherever you need to go to make you feel comfortable. And it's also stable. It's a 9-to-5 job, weekends off. You kind of know what you're getting yourself into when you are a state worker. Next slide. Some of the benefits, you get to have the CalPERS pension plan, participate in that. Savings Plus plan, there's comprehensive health, dental, and vision. Employees assistance programs. So, if you need counseling, on the job counseling, they have programs like that to offer those to the state employees. Paid training. We'll talk a little bit about the holidays, sick leave, vacation, and military leave, I think, on the next slide. But all these are the benefits of working for the state. Next slide. So this is one of the benefits for veterans working for the state, the Wounded Warriors Transitional Leave Act. So what this does is it offers 96 hours of sick leave to a veteran who has a 30% or more disability rating. And the reason why this is such a beneficial program for veterans is because with those individuals who have the disability rating, they have to go and see it. They have to have appointments to go see their doctors or primary care physicians. They may need to pick up prescriptions and so forth. When it comes to working for the state, you actually can't take vacation or sick leave until 6 months into your time working. But if you have this disability rating and you are part of the Wounded Warriors Transitional Leave Act, you can actually start using sick leave, up to 96 hours of sick leave, right when you get hired. So it's a pretty good program for veterans who have those disability ratings and need to make those appointments. Next slide. So how do you get started with this? Or how do you get started with the hiring process and getting with the state? The first thing you'd want to do is create that profile at jobs.ca.gov. Apply for veteran preference, search for career opportunities, pass the exam, and then apply for open positions and participate in the hiring interview. And we will go through all 5 of these steps right now. Next slide. So this is jobs.ca.gov. This is where you're going to actually go to create your profile and search for positions. You'll also take your tests here, your exams, and get your job postings on this website as well. So the first thing you want to do is create your account or click on that create account login link at the top. Next slide. So when you do that, you will create your profile. If this was an active profile, or no, this is the contact information. Yeah, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, I guess it's not showing. So if you were to actually complete the profile, you would come to a landing page that actually has all of your information there on the one slide. With that information is what's going to be plugged into any electronic application that you decide to fill out. So by creating that profile, you are already completing an application of the information that doesn't change or hasn't changed. All right, we can go to the next slide. Veteran preference is what you'd want to do after you create that profile. So veteran preference will automatically put you at the top of any list that you apply for when it comes to applying for the state. So if you think of ranking, if you think of an employer who is ranking applications and you have rank 1, 2, and 3, as a veteran with veteran preference, you're actually going to be in rank 0, meaning that you will automatically get a interview and you will be seen by an interviewee before anybody else. So this is for any veteran who has an honorable discharge and can apply for any promotional exams. So you can actually use this benefit to get into the state. If you got into the state and you haven't used veteran preference, you can also use it for promotional exams as well. Next slide. You can find information about veteran preference at jobs.ca.gov. Right there in the middle of the screen, you'll find that veterans link, and you click on that. And that will take you to a page where you can find the application for veteran preference. This can only be used once, like I mentioned. Once you're into the state, if you use this to get into the state, you can't use it again. If you use it to get into a promotional exam or promotional position, you can't use it again. But you'll fill this out and you will actually submit this to CalHR. This won't be attached to your resume or your application. It's going to be submitted to a different state department that's going to hold on to it and use it whenever you need it. Next slide. So when we're searching for vacancies, like I mentioned, you'll be searching at jobs.ca.gov. Next slide. So when you're there, you can click right there. So this is the page that I mentioned earlier. So if this was an active profile, all your information like name, address, email address, social security number, phone number will all be filled in. On this web page, you'll also click on that Find Jobs link at the top. When you click on that, that will take you to a page where you can start searching. Next slide. So when you're searching for positions, you'll see a page that looks like this. One of the things that you'd want to always take note of is the filing deadline. So a filing deadline is going to let you know when the application is going to be closed. They won't look at your application at all. I don't think you have a chance to submit anything if it does close. There's some that have an actual date, and there's some that say until filled. And what that means is there's no deadline. It's just until they fill the position. So always look to see when the deadline is, if there is a deadline, and how much time you have. You'll also see on this page information about the title. So with these positions right here, the person is looking at AGPA jobs, so Associate Governmental Program Analyst jobs. Their title, though, is going to be Training and Application Support Analysts. And so what they'll be doing is going to be something dealing with training, application, and support analysts. It also is going to let you know what their pay salary is going to, or their salary range is going to be, and whether or not it's part-time, full-time, or so forth. Next slide. So if you found the job that you wanted, you're good with the title of the job, you're good with the salary range, you click on that link, it's going to give you the duty statement or the job posting. I'm sorry, this is going to be the job posting. Just going to give you more information about that position. You'll click on that duty statement link, and this is the duty statement that you're going to use to create your resume or to fill in your resume. This document right here is actually breaking down all of the duties that you do in that position, and it gives you percentages on how often you'll be doing that. So if you look on the second page, it says 40% project control officer, 30% major maintenance and minor B project control officer, and 20% and 10% also doing other positions or other work. And so what you do is you'll take this, you'll highlight any keywords from those core competencies or the duty statement that, what they're asking you to do. And you'll plug those into your targeted resume to show that you have met the qualifications for this position. Next slide. Once you've done that, you'll click on that Apply Now link there on the job posting and apply using the template that is already created when you filled out the profile. Next slide. One of the first things that you need to do before actually applying is see if you obtained eligibility. And so this is the exams that we mentioned earlier. So if you want to attain eligibility, you'll go ahead and click on that link right there and apply for this job. Next slide. And you'll search and take your examination. So let's talk a little bit about those exams. We can go to the next slide. On the job bulletin, you'll find a link that is there so that you can actually take that examination. By clicking on that link, next slide, you're taken to one of the exams. Either it's an in-person exam or a assessment exam, all self-reporting. And what it is just a way for the employer to process and evaluate your education, experience, knowledge, skills, and abilities. Next slide. So these are the types of exams that some of the exams that I was just mentioning. Online examinations, the qualification appraisal panel. You got a written examination, supplemental examination, and education experience examination. For the most part, you'll see a lot of the written examinations and the education experience examinations. But depending on what you're going for, you may actually run into either one of these methods. Next slide. This slide right here is just kind of letting you know what positions you can go for based off of the education level that you have. So for those of you that have a high school diploma, you can look into positions like audiologist aide, claim auditor, there's an editorial aide, office assistant general, 2-year degrees, accountant clerk, computer operator, bachelor's degrees, administrative assistants, and anything less than a high school less than a high school degree, assistant clerk, and so forth. If you want, you can take a picture of this slide. Just kind of helps you navigate your searching, and so you understand what is out there based off of what kind of education you do have right now. Next slide. Actually, I will put these slides in the chat after I'm done, so that you guys can all have a copy of it yourself as well. Entry-level exams to take. So if you are just looking to get into the state and you want an easy way to get in, there's always the method of going through the entry-level way. With this, you do have to spend at least 6 months in the position that you're getting into before you can start applying for other positions. But this is a pretty common way for people to get into the state. Office assistant, office technicians, and staff service analysts are the kind of like the stepping stones to the AGPA. People jump into those positions, and then within 6 months, they'll start actually promoting up the line. They'll get into those positions, and then within 6 months, they might even promote and go somewhere else into a different department. But this is just another method that you can use to get into the state if you do have the resources to actually go through the 6-month period of probation. Next slide. Once you actually take those tests, you will get an email that lets you know if you passed it or not. On top of passing, it's going to give you a score. Now, if you're using veteran preference, the score doesn't matter as long as you just pass. You're still going to be seen by an interviewee. However, if you have a family member that's trying to get into the state as well, and they're asking questions about the exam, just know that the higher score you have, the more reachable you're going to be. If you pass with just the lowest, but you still passed, you still have the chance to get into that position, but they will be looking at people with the higher scores. But like I mentioned, as a veteran with veteran preference, this might not matter to you. Next slide. This is when you are on your jobs.ca.gov, you can actually look at your assessments, see the exams that you've taken in the past, the scores that you've received, and see which ones are active and which ones have expired. Next slide. So you search for the jobs that you wanted, you know exactly what you're applying for, you've attained your eligibility, and you've passed your exams. You have those veteran preference ready to go. The next thing you want to do is actually apply for the position. So you'll click on that apply for this job. Next slide, sorry. And this is what the application is going to look like. I mentioned earlier by filling out that profile before searching, all that information is going to be auto-populated into the application so that you don't have to do anything except update things that need to be updated, like addresses or phone numbers if applicable. Next slide. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the statements qualifications. This is another document that's going to be sent in with your application process or with your applications. Next slide. This is you'll find the directions for the statement of qualifications on the job posting. We could go to the next slide. And that's going to tell you exactly what you need to do when you're writing your statement of qualifications. And so a statement of qualifications, it's a narrative discussion to the applicant's narrative discussion of the applicant's knowledge, skills, and abilities. It's just another method for the employer to screen the most qualified candidates. And like I said, the instructions are on the job bulletin. You really want to pay attention to the instructions. The instructions are going to let you know what point font to use, the margins, how big they need to be. It will let you know how to actually format the document. And one of the things that the employer is looking for is to see how well you follow directions. So if you can't make your document a 12-point font, or you don't have those 1-inch margins, your application is going to get thrown out right away. So that's how serious they are with the statement of qualifications. Just make sure you are reading those instructions and doing what they're asking. Next slide. So you've written that, you've submitted that, you submitted your application, you got a call for an interview. The next thing you'd want to do is prepare for that interview. And this is going to be for any position, not just with the state. But one of the main things you'd want to do is study the duty statement, the job announcement, read over the website of the agency or department you're applying for, and just get familiar with what's going to be expected of you and familiar with what they're all about, and why you want to work with them. Rate your experience and knowledge of the essential duties and desirable qualifications, or I'm sorry, relate your experiences and knowledge to the essential duties and desirable qualifications, and then read all the application instructions. Next slide. Okay, so in summary, the first thing you want to do is create those master target resumes. And I just noticed that we didn't actually talk about those. So let me just mention them real quick. A master resume is something that's not going to be submitted to the employer. A master resume is going to be a document that only you will see. And it's going to have every single position, every single training, every single certification that you have on one document with the duty statements and information about that bullet point there. What you'll do with the target resume, when you are creating your target resume that's tailored to the position you want to apply for, you'll take the information from the master resume and you'll include that into your target resume. Just a quick way to get those filled out and make sure that you're using only the relevant information needed on that target resume. So after you've created those resumes, then you want to always apply or check in to see if there is veteran preference or veteran preference points. You'll take any necessary exams. This is only for the state. You'll apply for those jobs, and then you'll actually participate in the hiring interview. Next slide. So resources that you can use if you are looking to get into state work or federal work. You can always go to Usajobs, calvet.ca.gov. Those are for federal employments, and we'll actually have Audrey coming on next, who's going to talk a little bit about that. CalHR is for your veteran preference. EDD is always a good one. Jobs.ca.gov is where you'll go to apply. CalCareer, Career One Stop are just resources that you can use when you are in the process. Information about exams, feel free to give that number a call. Next slide. Okay, so this information can be found also as well on our website and also in our resource book on Chapter 6. And you'll find information about state employment there. Next slide. Okay, so that's my contact information. Like I mentioned, we did kind of go a little fast through the step-by-step portion, but if you have any questions or you want me to explain a little bit more about, some of the steps that you would have to go through for state work, feel free to email me. I check my email daily, all throughout the day. So you email me, I'll get to you as soon as I can. If I can't answer those questions, I definitely will direct you to somebody who can. Thanks for your time. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Audrey Bisar. She's with the Department of Labor, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about the federal hiring process. So when you're ready, Audrey, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Audrey Besaw, and I am one of the assistant directors for the Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Service. I am joined today by my partner, Adrian Morato. We are the current Jobs for Veterans State Grants leads for the state of California. Today, I'm excited to talk to you about some information regarding the federal hiring process. However, when we're going over this information, please remember that what I provide you today is not all inclusive. Unfortunately, the federal hiring process is sort of like an onion. It's got a bunch of layers. It would take us far more than the 20 to 25 minutes that we've so generously been allotted to go over all of the information involved with federal hiring. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to be giving you some sites where you can get more information on these subjects if you need it. A little background on me. I was a vet. I am a vet. I was in the military in the early 2000s. My husband's active duty. I got out because we decided to have children. I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. And then back in 2015, I re-entered the workforce and have been with the federal government ever since then. Slide, please. Today, we are going to be discussing the types of federal civil service so that we can better understand the federal hiring process. We're going to go through some different areas that should help all of you who are unfamiliar with Usajobs to better navigate the site. And we're also going to talk about how to search for the right type of federal jobs. And then we're going to finish up with how to network to aid you in securing federal employment. Slide, please. Again, I am joined today by my colleague, Adrian Morato. He's going to be in the shadows, answering any questions that may come up if you guys have any. This is our contact information, which will be presented again at the end of this presentation. Slide, please. First, let's talk about federal civil service. When you hear people talk about federal civil service, you're going to hear them talk about three different types. There's competitive, accepted, and senior executive civil service. We are also going to talk, albeit very briefly, on how veterans preference fits into all of this. Again, please understand that this is just brushing the surface on the wealth of information available about federal civil service types and veterans preference. As we near the end of the civil service slides, I'm going to provide more information on this. Slide, please. The first of the three types of civil service, competitive service, encompasses most of the jobs that are found within the federal civil service. In competitive service, individuals must go through a competitive process, hence the name. This is also called competitive examining. It's open to all eligible applicants who meet the minimum qualifications. This competitive process can consist of a written test, potentially evaluation of the applicant's education and experience. Well, not potential, they do that every time. They may also evaluate any other attributes that are necessary for successful performance of the position to which they are applying. So this could be something like security clearance or things like that. Slide, please. This one is sort of in depth. All of them are, but this is just sort of a little breakdown of it. The next of the three civil service types, accepted service, is any federal or civil service position which is not in the competitive service or the senior executive service. Accepted service agencies set their own qualification requirements and are not subject to the appointment, pay, or classification rules in Title V of the United States Code. There are several ways to be appointed into the accepted service, such as being appointed pursuant to an authority created by Congress, the President, or the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, also known as OPM. For example, positions at the U.S. Postal Service and the Central Intelligence Agency, aka CIA, are accepted by law. Accepted service includes Schedule A, B, or C appointments. Schedule A are positions other than those of a confidential or policy determining character for which it is impracticable to examine, or also for temporary organizations. Schedule B are positions other than those of a confidential or policy determining character for which it is not practicable to hold a competitive examination. And then we have Schedule C, which are positions of a confidential or policy determining nature. Title V has a wealth of information on the various accepted service appointments. I've included a link here for all of you if you wish to do some more reading on all of the great information contained in Title V. Slide, please. The last of the civil service types is Senior Executive Service. It's also known as SES positions. These positions include those classified above the GS-15 grade that encompass duties identified as executive or managerial. The SES was designed to be a core of executives selected for their leadership qualifications. Senior Executive Service are the executives within the federal workforce selected for their leadership qualifications and charged with leading the continuing transformation of government. These are leaders who have exhibited that they possess well-honed executive skills and share a broad perspective of government and public service commitment, which is grounded in the Constitution. Slide, please. Okay, let's talk a little bit about veterans preference. Veterans who are disabled or who served on active duty in the armed forces during certain specified time periods or in military campaigns are entitled to preference over others in hiring from competitive lists of eligibles and in retention during reduction in force. Preference in hiring applies to permanent and temporary positions in the competitive and accepted services of the executive branch. So when it comes to veterans preference, unfortunately, this is a pretty misunderstood process where federal hiring is concerned. Many veterans believe that because they apply for a job and they check the veterans preference box, put their DD-214 in there, that automatically means that they'll be interviewed, that they'll be hired because of their veterans preference. Unfortunately, this is just not the case. Veterans preference does not require an agency to use any particular appointment process. Because this is such an in-depth process, there is more information online that you can find in Title V, as well as if you go to opm.gov, there is a wealth of information on how veterans preference works. Slide, please. Okay, so I have applied for a lot of federal jobs and every time have tried to use veterans preference. I have never been selected for a position because of my preference, nor because of my military spouse preference. So that being said, as great as it would be that we could all apply for a position and get it because we're vets, it doesn't always happen. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but it doesn't always happen. So we're going to go over a couple of other things that can sort of help you get into the system, maybe if the veterans preference isn't working for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so hopefully most of you, if not all, are familiar with Usajobs.gov. If not, please familiarize yourself with this site. This is going to be your #1 tool when searching for federal jobs. Not your only tool, but it's a really good one. First thing you want to do when you get into Usajobs is to build a profile. Once you build a profile, you're going to upload a resume. You can upload several resumes. As mentioned by Michael in the previous presentation, you have to customize your resume to sort of fit what you're applying for. So you may have 5 or 6 different resumes in there, depending on the different jobs you're hunting for. Once you have built your profile, you're going to notice that there's different available hiring paths that are available, and they populate based off of the information you provide when building your profile within Usajobs. Once those hiring paths are available and they're populated for you, you're going to select which ones apply to you. There's going to be several. They're going to be open to the public. There's going to be ones that are federal employees, both competitive or accepted service. There's going to be military spouse hiring paths, internal to an agency, etc. The sky is the limit. There's a lot of them. You need to pick every single one that applies to you. So if you're both a vet and a spouse, pick both. If you're a vet and you've recently graduated from school, pick both. These are going to, picking as many as you can that are applicable to you is going to increase your odds of moving forward in the hiring process. Once you do this, you can see which groups that you belong to listed under the section, you belong to the following groups. If you think you belong to more groups, or maybe some have populated that you don't necessarily belong to, you can go through and click on each path to select or deselect as needed. Okay. You need to make your resume searchable as well. Any of those resumes, when you're in the there's a document screen where it'll show all of your documents, resumes, etc. There's a little box above the resume. You can click that to make it searchable within Usajobs. This is going to add you to a large resume bank so that when agencies, hiring managers, hiring authorities are searching to fill roles, they will be able to find you more easily, even if you didn't apply to the job. This is really important because it will increase your likelihood for federal employment if you are found during one of those searches. Please keep in mind that only one resume is searchable at a time, and the resume is only searchable for an 18-month period. So set yourself a reminder or something so that if you're still looking for jobs at 18 months, that you can go in and renew that search for your resume. Your profile is also searchable, but you need to make sure that it's complete for it to be that. Okay. You should also complete a saved search email notification. You must have your profile complete to be able to do this for yourself. So number one, again, make sure you go in and complete your profile. Otherwise, you can't do all the rest of the steps necessary. When you're completing a search to save as a notification, it's best to do both keywords and locations entered in the search area. There will be a left search area that says keywords. So maybe if you want to do a training job, put in training there. And then on the right-hand side, it's going to have location. Location is not all inclusive to your area. For instance, I live in Palmdale, California. I could just put in California, or I could put in Los Angeles County, or I could put in remote. But you're going to get better search results if you have both location and keywords put in there. Enter your search details, narrow your results, hit save, name your search, and then you're going to choose how often you want to get notified about this search. I recommend highly, excuse me, getting these notifications sent to you daily if you're looking for a specific job. Some of these jobs can open and close very quickly. A lot of them, it's within 1 week, they open and then they close. If you sign up to receive these notifications, you're going to get 1 email per day only if new jobs post in the last 24 hours that match that search criteria. So don't be alarmed if you wake up, first thing you do is check your email and you don't have a new notification. That means that nothing in that area of interest has opened within 24 hours. So for instance, the current position that I'm in with DOL Vets, I was previously working for the Department of the Air Force. I was looking for different employment. I had saved a search for training for Los Angeles County. I would occasionally get emails on it. It wasn't very often. And then one morning I checked my email. There was a position open for DOL Vets. And so I sort of looked at the search or at the requirements and I was like, I don't know if I really match that, but I'm going to go ahead and apply. I applied and here we are. More on that a little bit later. Slide, please. Oh, there we are. Nope, I'm sorry. You can go back. You're in the right spot. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the federal job search and what that should mean. A couple of key points. Keep in mind the hiring path for any position you seek when searching. There's going to be a variety of them out there. Like I mentioned previously, there's going to be some that are not to exceed, also known as NTE. There's going to be permanent, temporary, students in recent grad, spouses, etc. The list for these is on and on. So don't apply for a recent graduate hiring path if you are not, in fact, a recent graduate. Most of these recent grads, just for argument's sake, you can have graduated within the last 2 years. But if you have not graduated within the last 2 years, even if you otherwise meet the qualifications for this position, don't apply. It's going to be a waste of your time. This is going to automatically get your package sent through the Usajobs virtual shredder. It's a waste of time. Only apply for jobs also that you truly qualify for. For instance, I have a master's in HR and a good amount of training experience. It would be reasonable for me to apply to any training or HR jobs that match my skill and education set. it would not be very effective to apply for a job as a physical scientist because I have no education or experience in that. While I'm sure it would be a really cool job, applying for that would immediately get my application package sent right through the shredder. Also, keep in mind that the government values experience over education. I cannot tell you how many times I have been passed over positions that I could qualify for based on the education I have, but even that I get passed over because I lack some sort of years of experience that they want. Could be 5 years, could be 7 years, could be 10 years, doesn't matter. However, like I said before, I was hired into my current position with no real experience with the day-to-day operations of what my organization does, but I met the master's degree education requirement. I say that to say, don't get discouraged, keep applying. Sooner than later, you will strike gold when the right person sees the type of value you would provide their organization. Slide, please. Okay, last but certainly not least, let's talk about networking and how that's going to assist you in obtaining federal employment. Slide, please. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. Sometimes it really is all about who you know. Network, network, network. Foot stomp that all day long. Network as much as you can. So one of my colleagues had never worked for the federal government, was hired in because of who he knew, excuse me. And it wasn't just about who he knew. The director knew him because our agencies sort of worked together, and he knew what an asset he would be and what a hard worker he was and what kind of value he would provide. So when a position came open, he hired him without competition to come and work for the agency. It's all about who you know. We have another colleague who worked for our agency prior, but she left to take an opportunity elsewhere because she moved. A position opened, a job hire went out for it through Usajobs. Our director heard that she was looking for work, and so he canceled that job hire and hired her non-competitively. So if you know people, it really can work. It can get you into the system. That said, the stronger the network, the more opportunities you're going to hear about and have closer access to. As these two examples show, these non-competitive selections can be made without any competition. You can get into the system without having to go through the motions or interviewing or any of that stuff. There are a lot of ways to seek out and build these networks. These include job fairs, industry fairs, conferences, symposiums, any other events that are targeted towards your area or field of interest. When out at these events, don't just ask for business cards. You need to ask for business cards, but once they give them to you, ensure that you follow up with these representatives that you receive business cards from, and do it on a semi-regular basis to see if there is any area in which your agency can provide support to theirs. Just that reaching out and that communication and seeing ways that you can help is going to further cement that business relationship, which could lead to future opportunities for you within that federal agency. It is also okay to let them know that you're interested in any future opportunities that become available. Just don't be pushy. It doesn't have to be a constant conversation. Just let them know and then press on. Slide, please. Anybody have any questions? If not, please ensure you visit usajobs.gov, opm.gov, and www.govinfo.gov. That has all the Title V information as well as the other link that I provided. This will give you more information on the federal hiring process. Here is the POC contact for myself, my colleague Adrian Murado, who is also on the line, and our director, California Director, Mr. Steve Potter. Slide, please. Thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and best of luck on your federal job hunt.
All right, thank you so much, Audrey. That was amazing information, and we'll have Audrey's contact information up during the question and answer slide. And if you guys do have questions during that time, we can go over them at that time too, but feel free to put them in the question and answer section. So as we're going along the slides, we'll be able to address those if we can. Okay, so moving on, we have Jason from Work for Warriors here, and he is going to talk about all about what Work for Warriors does for veterans and their families. And so whenever you're ready, Jason.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so my name is Jason Cameron, and I will be representing Work for Warriors today. I actually wear a couple different hats. So my other hat is I'm the Director of Military and Veterans Affairs for the County of Monterey. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So the mission of Work for Warriors, and actually before I get into the mission piece, Work for Warriors is housed, if you haven't heard of it, they are housed in the California Military Department. So that's where the National Guard lives for the state. Originally, they came to fruition due to the unemployment within the National Guard. Over time, it's morphed and changed. But in today's world, our mission is to reduce our candidate unemployment and underemployment, improve the candidate's quality of life. And who's eligible to work with this program? Well, transitioning active duty service members, California Guardsmen, Army, Air, State, veterans, retirees. The California state has also opened it up to disaster survivors and at-risk youth, and then families of anybody. So it's a wide array, although our main focus is our post 9/11 veteran, reservists, National Guard members, and their families. That's kind of the core component. Next slide, please. So how does Work for Warriors help? Like many entities, they'll help with resume critique and writing tips. If somebody's wanting some additional help with maybe a practice interview, that can be arranged. Recommendations and referrals with our partners, that's the big one. What we do is we go out and build relationships with the business partners that we represent. So in today's world, when you apply to a government job, whether it's federal, state, local, you're pretty much guaranteed to get looked at by a human. You might not move along in the process, but a human will most likely look at your application. And that's part of the reason why these job openings are only open for a short period of time. Otherwise, they get flooded with so many they could never move forward. However, on the civilian side, what happens is you go to apply to a job, and so did 250 other people. That recruiter who's sitting on the other side isn't obligated to look at everybody's resume or application. And keep in mind that recruiter may have 15 to 25 job openings that they're managing, with hiring managers behind those open job recs that are hounding them to get people in line for an interview so they could fill their vacancy. What we do is we build this relationship with these organizations, and we become essentially their military and veteran hiring liaison, so to say. And what will happen will be is when you apply to one of the business partners' job opportunities, we're essentially the person on the inside. So like you just heard, a lot, knowing the right people in the right places can go a long way. It's not a guarantee, but at least it helps move things along. The relationship that we build with these business partners is really, the way I boil it down with these organizations is, look, I don't expect you to hire anybody. Take that pressure off, right? I want you to hire people, but you're not obligated to hire people that I send you. So, obviously I don't own the business, so I can't make that call. In fact, I don't even mandate that you interview the people that I send you. What happens if somebody slips through and they don't even meet the minimum qualifications? How can I hold you accountable to interviewing that person, right? But what I do expect, employer X, is that when I send you somebody, a recruiter actually looks at their resume, their application, what have you. And really, if they meet all the minimum qualifications and you're trying to hire veterans, why wouldn't you interview them? And they shake their head, yes, and they get it and they understand. So really it gets us over that big hurdle, because out of the 250 people that apply to a job, some of these applicant tracking systems that you enter your information into have the ability to rank and sort everybody's information. And if you're not in the top 30 or so for a one hired position, you're probably not going to get looked at unless you know somebody who can float you up to the top. or if you meet all of the keywords that they're looking for and so forth. Another thing that they work with, Work for Warriors here is, they'll give some feedback on social imaging through social media platforms and so forth. And then awareness of specific industry workshops and so forth. And then hiring events as well, sending out that information. The thing here that I always like to explain to people is, look, information is free. Just like getting those alerts from Usajobs, that's free. Why not get that information if this is what you're looking for? And if you're in the reserves, or if you're in the Guard, or if you're just a leader who's trying to help other people in your network, even when you have a good job and you're where you want to be, continue to get the information so you could share it. Be a resource for those around you. It's always a good place to be. Next slide, please. Work for Warriors has a few locations throughout the state. However, they work the entire state, and it's all pretty much virtually through either Zoom or phone calls or emails. Most people never see a Work for Warriors rep in person. It's just not needed. It's about the relationships that have already been built and leveraging those. So there's the locations. Next slide, please. Just a snapshot of some of the visual logos of some of the companies that have partnered with Work for Warriors. There's hundreds, but this is just a snapshot just to show a wide array of different opportunities. And really, everybody's hiring veterans, right? And a lot of civilian organizations, especially like in the IT world and some services that contract with the government, they have to carry a 6 to 7% veteran employee count inside their workforce. So being a veteran's a good place to be in today's hiring market. Next slide, please. So unique opportunities, state active duty. So for those, most people don't have a clue what state active duty is. Within the state of California, in the National Guard, because the National Guard runs both federal and state missions, it has some positions that are allocated as state active duty. These state active duty positions are sprinkled throughout the state, concentrated mostly in the Los Alamitos area, Sacramento area, and then Camp Roberts, which is the Central Coast. And closest to you guys would be Oakland. There's actually the Oakland Institute. It's essentially a military type academy school for high schoolers, and they have to petition to get in. There's several schools throughout the state, I'd say probably 5 or so, maybe more, that are ran by the National Guard. And these schools will have state active duty positions. Same with Moffett Field, the Air National Guard will have a few state active duty positions that pop up there as well. Now, what's interesting about these state active duty positions is, well, before I go into there, the California Military Department, when we think of the National Guard and it's housed inside the California Military Department, most of us just think Air Guard and Army Guard. There's actually 4 components. It's the Air Guard, the Army Guard, it's the schools I just talked about, that's ran by the California Military Department. And the 4th component is what's called the California State Guard. The California State Guard is a kind of an auxiliary to the National Guard components. It's not a full-fledged military type of a role. It's a voluntary role, legitimately voluntary. If you could quit the next day if you wanted to. There's no real commitments like that. You do not get issued a weapon. You don't get issued anything. You have to. You get, I think, a uniform allowance, and that's about it. And you do this 1 weekend a month, Saturday, Sunday commitment to be an auxiliary to the National Guard, helping them with their mission. You don't get deployed. If there is a state emergency, you can volunteer to help with that. And if you do, you get paid, okay, for that based on your rank and so forth. Now, the interesting thing here And the reason why I went a little bit deep on that state guard volunteer auxiliary component is that in order to hold a state active duty position within the state of California, you have to be a drilling member of the California Military Department. So that could be an Army National Guard, an Air National Guard, or, hey, I got out however many years ago. I'm going to come back in as a volunteer with the State Guard, volunteer. I'm going to come in at the same rank that I was, or potentially higher. You can also go through OCS or WOCS through the California State Guard, and obtain your commission and also hold commissioned positions within the California State Military Department. Now, remember, these are state active duty positions. They are paid by the state, not fed. So you're not getting any more time toward any sort of federal military time, but you will be paying into the California Public Employees Retirement System, which you would fully vest after 5 years of continuous service. Now, what's really interesting about this is it mirrors, this California paycheck mirrors the military pay based on your time in service and your rank, and it pays housing allowance. So imagine Oakland for a minute. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, probably somewhere around $4,000 for the housing allowance. So there's some lucrative positions, and that's tax-free if everybody remembers right. So there's some lucrative positions within the California Military Department. And to be frank, this SAD aspect is a bit of a secret, not intentionally. It's just a lot of people don't know about it. And for a lot of folks, maybe they wanted to still serve, but they didn't want to get deployed. They have a family now or what have you. They don't want to go overseas for 6 months or a year. They want something a little more stable. This could be a route for you where you're helping California with its California specific missions. So it's a great opportunity, and I'm happy to be a conduit to any of that type of stuff. Next slide, please. So Work for Warriors has a host of different social networking platforms. The four kind of main ones are here. So you could follow them on any of those. Again, information's free. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Take a picture of that. Next slide, please. So that's the QR code that probably leads to the website, I'm guessing. And then I'm also guessing this is probably the end slide. So with that, I'm going to pause for a second from this and just kind of go off the rails. Networking, which was mentioned by the previous presenter, absolutely, 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 absolutely. And I will tell you that from a networking standpoint, one of the things that I've done in my past lives was go on Vistaprint, where you can order business cards, order yourself some networking business cards. Essentially, it's a snapshot of a resume, right? And so that way you have something that you can hand out. Dial in your LinkedIn account, because people will search you. If you make a good impression, they are going to look for you. Put that LinkedIn address on your website now, or I mean on your business card. The thing with LinkedIn is they'll have these personal links to your LinkedIn page, which it's very long, right? It's like linkedin.com / part of your name, some numbers, some hieroglyphics, and so on. What you could do is, for nickels, maybe dollars, go on to a URL purchasing website like a GoDaddy and purchase a domain name. I purchased myself, Jason Cameron, because that's my name, right? jasoncameron.us for, I don't even remember what it was, $6 or something. I purchased that domain name, and then I just had it forward anybody who went to that domain, and you could do it right on GoDaddy. Anybody who goes to this website, just send them to this website. And I copied and pasted my LinkedIn there. So that way I could say LinkedIn, visit jasoncameron.us, or you could create a QR code. There's a lot of free QR code generators. Put that on your networking business card. One of the things, if you know how business cards look, typically it'll have a job title on there. Well, if you're looking for a specific role, but you don't have that job title, but you have maybe some education in that or some past experience in that field, just put whatever that is and put professional after it. So if you want to get into, say, project management, you could say project management professional. So it's just a way that you could do that. Put down your school, whatever sort of certifications you have, whatever military experience, your LinkedIn and so forth. Now the key is, and this was alluded to again by the previous, who did a great job, by the way, and I forgot her name now. The Usajobs was great. So the federal stuff. So when you give somebody something in a networking event, and I'm talking about any networking event, whether it's a Chamber of Commerce event or you find places to go meet people, rub elbows, you hand them your business card, it prompts them to give you something in return, their business card. In some cases, you'll go to some hiring events where the recruiters are a bit shy about giving out too many. I don't know why, but sometimes you'll run into that where they're like, oh, I don't have any on me. Here's our flyer to our jobs or whatever. Don't take that right away, right? So if they go, oh, I don't have one on me, grab a pen and paper and go, oh, it's okay, I got a pen. What's your email address or what's your phone number? Now, again, like what was alluded by the past presenter, don't overwhelm the person. Don't become annoying, but now you have their information and you could be strategic and thoughtful and polite and not overbearing and communicate with this person. Those are wins, right? Another thing at networking events, what happens that I see is, you need to go in with a game plan. You need to go in with a game plan of meeting people that are going to help you move forward to whatever your goal is. What happens though is people will show up at networking events, meet somebody else who's there for maybe the same reasons they are. They're trying to find a job or whatever. You get to talking, you find out you have something in common, and you just talk to that person the whole time and then leave the networking event and never have met anybody who could have helped propel you in your career. That is not good. So you may meet somebody, great, get their information, connect afterwards, whatever, but stay focused on your goal of meeting the right people. Right there in San Francisco, and I think they're just getting back to in person, is an organization called Vets in Tech. So obviously it's in the tech world, and you may think to yourself, well, I don't want to get a job in tech. That's besides the point. A lot of times it's Vets in Tech. So it's a veteran focused organization. They'll have networking events hosted by, I've been to several. They've had them, I went to one at Airbnb headquarters. I went to one at Wells Fargo headquarters and one at Twitter headquarters. And it wasn't just that employer there that was engaging and networking with everybody. There was also several other employers there like LinkedIn and so forth. So you go to these networking events, even if it's not in the wheelhouse you're looking for, you're going to meet recruiters there. You just want to, hey, I'm just here to network and meet. I know people looking for IT stuff. Me personally, I'm looking for project management, or I'm looking for HR, or I'm looking for X. Here's my card. Maybe I can send you people that I come across that are looking for things. And now you're becoming that resource for them. You start doing some good things for them. You start networking with them. They see that you're a rock star doing this on the side, working with them and being proactive. Now you see something else come up with their job, with their company. You apply to it. You could reach out to your contact and say, hey, look, I just applied to this job. And then they're going to pass your information on to the recruiter that's handling that and make sure you get looked at from internal. Some of these organizations, and I'll cut off here in a second. I'm sorry, I get a little passionate. Some of these organizations out there, what will happen will be is there's actually an internal application / referral mechanism in place where current employees can essentially stamp an application for somebody that they're referring, and it floats them to the top because these companies vest so heavily in hiring the right people. They want the people that hang out with those people because they know that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree type of thing. So there's a lot of great opportunity. There's a lot of great information out there. Again, Work for Warriors is outstanding because it is the conduit between you and the employer, the kind of that missing link in a lot of cases. One of the things I will suggest is as you work with, so this email address here, this apply@workforwarriors.org, all you got to do is send an email to that with your resume attached, and we'll put you in the system. Now, what will happen from there is you will get information from Work for Warriors periodically through emails. You'll also be able to view all the jobs on the website and so forth. What I want you to remember with Work for Warriors is do not hyper-focus on the job that you see either advertised or emailed to you or whatever. Instead, put your focus on the company that's being represented, unless that job is like right up your alley. But the main thing that I want you to understand from that is that the relationship lives with the company, not the position. So you may not see a position that you like right offhand, but you may see a company that you might be interested in. I did that. I had this same conversation with another group. This is a year ago now. And I sent out some stuff on Stanford Health, a bunch of medical stuff. The guy was not interested in medical stuff. He reached back to me and said, hey, I remember what you said. I went on their website. I checked them out. They had this project manager job. I applied to it and I got him the interview. Then a couple months later, he ended up getting the job. It was like $130,000 a year. I didn't even know that job existed, right? They had like 600 jobs open, but because he listened to me, focused on the company, did his own due diligence, at the end of the day, nobody's going to want it more than you. You got to put a little bit of work in. Nothing's getting handed to you for free. He reached back to me, said, hey, I know you got that position. I know that you are the link between the two. Can you get me looked at? And that's what happened. Got him looked at, and he sold himself at that point, right? So it's just getting you to the plate so you can take a swing at that pitch. So with that, I'll stop there. I can go on forever. And by the way, I'm happy to have any other conversations and dive a little deeper on anything regarding employment or veterans benefits, by the way, at any time. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jason. That was such great information. And you guys, Work for Warriors is an incredible agency company. I mean, utilize them, reach out to them, and reach out to Jason directly. And also, like he said in the very beginning, he wears lots of hats, which means he's an amazing resource. So if you guys have questions, you could reach out to him. Of course, you can reach out to us at Calvet. And Kevin, one of the links, he's really great, as are all the other 7 links here in California. So lots of really great resources for you guys. And speaking of resources, we're going to move on to our questions and answers. This is kind of this is all the contact information, and we'll leave this up for a couple minutes while we get to some of the questions. Michael, I'm going to turn things over to you if you want to go over some of those, see if we have any for the speakers.
I'm sorry. So yeah, it looks like we had just a couple questions right now. If there's any else that want to come in, feel free to send them through the questions and answers tab. I know that Audrey did answer one. I've answered one also. This question that's still up, this one, it looks like it's for Jason. Jason, I'm gonna read this to you because it seems like it's a 2-part question. The person in the beginning said, in my experience, as I transitioned to find mediocre challenges when it comes to employment to the private sector, but my challenge was the culture fit was so different that it cost myself and another veteran coworker to quit the job. In the end, I found employment with the government sector is more viable fit for us. Not sure if it's just me, but was that based on my experience? So that was the first part. The second part is directed to you, Jason, and it says, I was already hired prior to my government job. I don't want to state who they are, but hired as a manager along with the other veteran coworker. We ran training for them as managers. What we both found out is that they were so customer profit centered to the point where acknowledging our employees, the guys, gals within their trenches, were basically ignored. Did we do the right thing just by quitting, or should he or I should have stayed and see if we can champion a culture change? I stayed 8 months. Thanks for any input on this. Not sure if you have any input on that, Jason, but it sounds like he's asking, if you felt if somebody in his position should deal with, a culture change like that, or follow through with it?
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
Through life and through employment and all of that stuff, we're going to come up with different challenges, right? And it's up to us individually and the circumstances that are surrounding it to determine whether or not you can sustain it, change it, morph it, whatever. And really, it's a real personal thing. Just like what's tangible in a job to one person may not be the same things that somebody else is looking for, right? So time and flexibility is more valuable than money for some people. Some people are like, hey, if I can make, $300,000 a year, I'll work, 15 hours a day, every single day, 7 days a week. I don't care, because I don't need the flexibility and the time. So it's a real personal decision, I think, but it's also really understanding and knowing where you're at in that company and what that company's ability is to allow for that type of a change. I mean, you might just be hitting up against a brick wall. If you're going to leave, if things don't change, right, and you got some irons in the fire, and that's another thing, right? Just because you apply to a job doesn't mean you have to take it if it's offered, right? So you can apply to jobs, you can get your feet wet, see what else is out there, and at the same token, what will happen will be is that'll give you the courage to have some real deep conversations with your current employer on the direction and so forth of the organization, and see if you can implement change and really be able to make an informed decision, right? So it's one of those leadership culture things, and they're either on board to identifying some issues, or they're not. And then you got to make the decision for you and what's best for you. And from just the little bit that you wrote, I mean, you probably made the right choice, right? If it was that toxic and wasn't that great, and you stayed 8 months and you gave it a shot, and you and somebody else left, it's not just a you thing. It's you and the other person felt the same way. There might have been something toxic there. And I will also point out that, you could work for the best company that's got thousands of people working for it, or tens of thousands, or 30,000s, or whatever. But you could work in a subgroup or department or division or whatever that could be toxic, and vice versa. You could work for a company that has a bad reputation, but there's a certain subset of it that's just dynamite and on point. So don't ever paint with a broad brush with things sometimes. So I don't really know how else to answer it, other than it's very personal, that type of a situation.
Yeah, no, that's great input. I totally agree with that. That's something that you have to make the decision. Is it the right space for you, or should you move on and try to find something different? And it looks like somebody did have the same experience. They were told to stay in their lane, and that's, like Jason said, you have to decide, is that the kind of employer or workspace that you want to be in? And if so, then, you're doing what you need to be doing. If not, then you will look for something different. It does look like I have a hand raised, Jessica's hand, or actually she put it down. Oh, it's up. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and allow her to talk. If she has a question, she can answer that. Go. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Oh my God, you guys hit the nail on the head. I currently work for a company. I'll just say where it's at: Folsom, great organization. But right now I'm running into, okay, you asked me to do this task. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it thoroughly. Well, they don't like that. And I've got that comment: stay in your lane, or you're too excited. Or my favorite was, you have conviction in your job. And I looked at my supervisor and I'm like, that's your complaint about me. And so maybe this is a blessing in disguise, because I'm not going to stop doing well my job just because you don't like it. And I'm glad those two other veterans brought up that point. we have certain values. We were trained or whatever it was. And I'm not going to stop working hard just because I am. Does that make sense? But knowing that I'm not the only one made me feel better, because I thought to myself, is it me? What's going on? What's wrong with me? And so now I'm dancing with this idea. Well, I'm not going to stop having a high standard of work ethics just because you're not used to it or you don't like it. And it's harder. And it sounds like there's gentlemen in this room. It's even harder for a female. So I'm seriously having this conflict even right now. I'm going to talk to my manager tomorrow and be clear and direct and say, you know, are you really complaining because I want to work extra? You know, what's going on here? So thank you, fellow veterans, for bringing that up. Thank you for your advice. I'm going to take a deep look in myself and really say, is it worth it? Because once again, I feel better now, because I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, why is this always happening to me? Why are people telling me, stay in your lane? You have conviction. And to me, that's not wrong. So I feel better once again that I'm not alone. So thanks, you guys.
Great. Yeah. Well, that's why we're here. We're here to help out and give you the information that you need. So thank you for that. I don't have any more questions that have came in. So I guess we can go ahead and move on and in the meeting. It looks like we're right on time. A couple minutes. I'm sorry, what was that?
I think we got a hand up.
Oh,
Oh,
do we?
It says it on mine.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
oh, sure, one, yeah.
Yeah. 1 second. Okay. 1 second. It looks like he looks like he's saying that he's using an older version of Zoom.
Okay.
Sherwin, it's not letting me allow you to turn off unless you promote you to panelist. Let me see. Is he there?
While you work on that, I wanted to chime in on something real quick on resumes.
Sure.
Everybody freaks out about keywords, right? So everybody hears keywords, put in keywords, but it's like, okay, what are these magic keywords, right? So most people have this umbrella thought of, okay, I can try to find these magic keywords somewhere in the job rec. So the job announcement, right? Let me look for some things that they seem to be saying a lot, right? And that's usually where people stop, which that's cool. But one of the things that I suggest doing, which will help you in the process, is one, look at it like an open book test, okay? Your booklet is the job announcement, right? That job rec. Your answer sheet is your resume. The test is to merge it, right? Put as much in there as you can. Obviously, you're going to have your stuff in your resume that's already there that's not from the job announcement. But what you want to do is, there's a lot of information in that job announcement, and a lot of it's already broken into essentially bullet points or numbers, 1 through 5, 1 through 8. And it's like, here's some job descriptions. This is what you're going to be doing, or these are some of the requirements, or whatever. Go through each one of those and change as few words as possible to make it fit you and your experience. Then put that in your resume, right? So now you're putting exactly what they're looking for, but you've changed whatever you had to make it fit you and your experience, right? So it might be who you're reported to, or it might be in what you were in charge of, or whatever, but it makes it really easy to kind of start getting on that role of what they're looking for. And it really kind of focuses you in on what that position is about and what they want to see in your resume. I'll tell you that a $10 effort on your resume will get you a $10 result. Okay, put the time in. I would much rather see somebody, take a few days dialing their resume in than just hammering out the same resume to 15 different jobs. right? You really need to be focused and dial it in. All right, thanks.
Right. Yeah.
Great. So are there
All
any
right.
other questions, Michael? I don't think
No, I'm not
so.
seeing any other questions that
Okay.
have come through, so we could go ahead and move on to
All
the.
right. Well, cool. Well, if any other questions come up, just interrupt me and feel free to ask more if you guys need to. But we'll just move on. Just a couple more slides and we'll get you guys out of here. Just want to bring up the survey again. We do value your feedback, and the survey gives us a chance to know the good things, know anything that we could improve on, and then also, if you guys have any ideas for webinars on the future, or if you want us to contact you, it's a great way to do that. We'll send the link in the chat, and then you guys will also get an email about it as well from Eventbrite. And these are just a way I was talking about earlier to keep in touch with us was to attend more of our webinars. These are some of the webinars coming up in May, just some of the topics that are going to be out there. You can sign up on Eventbrite as you did for this webinar today. Of course, they're always free. And if you have any questions about it, just contact us directly and we'll send you the link. And of course, those are all of our QR handles and our website, the top right one, sorry, top left one. And then our contact information with our phone number. That 800 number is the phone number that is on the back of the Veterans Resource Book or the last page of the PDF. That number is going to get you to someone that's going to answer the phone, either someone on the CalTAP team like Michael or myself, or one of the links like Kevin. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or need more detail or description on anything you heard today. But I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. Are there any other questions that came up, Michael?
No.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you all for your time and spending your afternoon for us. Kathleen, Gina, thanks for letting us come and join you. We always enjoy joining you guys for webinars and giving out information. And Jason and Audrey and Michael, thank you so much for all the information you guys gave and some of your insight too on the employment process. And if you guys have questions, reach out, but we look forward to seeing you guys in the future. So have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Skylar, for having us.
Bye.